Hey Raiders, just want to give you a heads up that while Mr. Pearman and I filmed this presentation for you, we had some internet issues, so our faces kind of freeze and are a little glitchy with the presentation, but the audio is pretty solid, so just bear with us a little bit as we're all figuring this out and working through some technological glitches, but it'll have everything that you need in it. So if you've got any questions, make sure you let us know, and we'll keep working on it. Okay? Have a great rest of the day and enjoy this presentation. I hope you can find some humor in it as well. Hey, Raiders. Welcome today. Walk you through some directions here, and then Mr. Pearman and I are going to go through a presentation with you with some notes. So if you go to the module and you take a look under Thursday, we are setting everything up now with some requirements. So when we put out directions, things like that, you'll have to click on them before you can move a step, which is why you see things grayed out underneath. You can't get to anything underneath until you've clicked on things above it. So what we need you to do first before we start this presentation is click on Sendability. So you're going to open up this organizer. So if you haven't done that, and you're obviously watching the presentation with us now, go ahead and pause us and go back to the module and open up this organizer and send it to Notability. We'll give you what it looks like. And remember, when we do things in Notability, we are handwriting them and we're going to put our name up at the top. So there's a spot here for you to put your name. And then Mr. Pearman and I are going to walk you through the notes for the county, city, village, and town here. And you're going to fill this in as we go. So you press in a split screen, toss this into Notability, and fill it out as you watch this video. Okay? So if we go back and we go back to this module, next step is the presentation. Okay, so you'll click this and it's going to take you to the video that you're watching right now. Okay, so let's take a look at the presentation on Wisconsin government.
All right, to start out, you guys just have a short video to watch. And first of all, it's good to see some of your smiling faces in the office hours. I talked to a couple of you, but some of you, again, we just want you to try to check in at least once a week. That's just what the kind of the goal is, just so we have some face-to-face contact, try to get in contact with all of you. Okay, this first video, now if we think about local government, this is a wonderful video. First of all, I really like this. But when we think about local government, I would bet if you were to ask your parents how much they like paying property taxes or taxes in general, I would say almost every one of them is going to say they don't like it. But I bet if you also ask your parents what they want from the local governments or what they want their local government to do for them, they're going to say that they want lots of stuff. And when we're talking about stuff, you're going to see two videos. Okay, first video is going to be just again saying how much stuff that the people want. The second one is just some examples of everything that the local government can give to you. Yeah, there it is.
Who thinks more is better? Okay, why?
More is better than less because if stuff is not if there's more less stuff, then you might want to have some more, and you don't let you because
right.
You might want to have some more, and your parents just don't let you because there's only a little.
Right.
We want more. We want more. Like you really like it. You want more. Want more. We want more. More. We want more. We want more. We want more. We want more. Like you really like it. You want more.
Like I said, I really like that commercial. If we try to relate that to the local government again, you and your parents, they always want stuff, or they want more things for the local government to do for them, okay, as in roads, some other things. If I go back and try to relate that first video, though, again, your parents and you want the local government to do things for you, but all those services that some of them that we'll talk about, let's say like good roads, plowing, garbage, water, all that's going to cost more for taxes. Okay, more and more taxes, but again, if the more taxes you pay, the more things you get back in return from the government. So now if you look at your local government, the graphic organizer, at the top is county, that whole top box is county. On the left side, that left box says a dual role. So what you can write down for that dual role, it says provides, it kind of acts, a county kind of acts as a state government as well as the highest level of a local government. It's kind of right in between. It acts a little bit of both for some of the services that it provides to you. So why don't you get that down in that left-sided box. And now for counties, Pulaski School District is kind of unique because it covers 4 different counties. We don't have too many people from Outagamie County, but Brown, Shawano, and Oconto County are some of the ones that Pulaski covers, or at least our school district covers. So I'll give you a little bit of time to fill that in, and then we'll move over. If you look in the middle part, we'll look at the finances, or where the money comes from and where counties spend their money on as well. So if we do the first 3 for that middle box, that would be the revenue of any county government. Some of you probably remember this from chapter 6, where you looked at counties. So most of their money comes from property taxes. If you were to talk to your parents every year, they get a property tax bill in the mail. And if you were to actually look at it, it's itemized and it tells you exactly where that money is going to go to. So if you remember from your book, it talks about how much money the county government needs, and they divide that by how much total property, or how much their total property is worth, and that equals a property tax rate. Okay, so then they're going to send that bill to your parents, and every year they have to pay that. That's the biggest income. Second, they get money from Wisconsin, and third, there are some public charges. But I'd say the majority comes from those property taxes that they get yearly.
And then expenditures, where is the county spending its money? So one would be in health and social services, so providing those things to the people. Public safety, so your police officers, things like that, firefighters, and then just general government, what it costs essentially to run the county government. So to have people employed and have buildings open, those types of things is where they're going to spend the most of their money.
That last box on the right for your graphic organizer, just as our state government and U.S. government is divided up, the county government also has 3 branches of government. All we want you to do is list some of the positions in each one. So if you think about the executive branch, for the U.S. we have a president, for Wisconsin we have a governor, for a county we're going to call that the county executive, and that's an elected position. The sheriff would be the next person. They're going to run the county jail. If you think about Brown County, I know where that one is. That's right by Costco. That's where the county jail is. Also, if you live in a township without a police department, like let's say I live in Little Swamico, I don't have a Little Swamico police. The Oconto County Sheriff in the Oconto County is going to take care of me for that. Treasurer, registers of deeds, the coroner, surveyor, the DA or the district attorney, or some other people in the executive branch. And that's where that expenditures of general government is going to go for, or go towards, is some of those people's positions and some of the services that they provide.
In terms of the legislative section, okay, you've got a supervisor, and so they're going to be keeping track of, what's taking place and getting that information out and organized to the people.
Unfortunately, that day, like 2 Mondays ago, we were supposed to have a few people come and talk to you about local government. We were going to have 2 county supervisors from Brown County come and talk. Right, they're going to make some of the laws, right, and ordinances for Brown County. That would have been Keith Denies and Rick Shadwell. And the last one is the judicial branch. Again, you looked at the U.S. and Wisconsin. They have a circuit court justice and also a clerk of court to help out with the judicial branch. These are some of the lower level courts in the county.
So you guys did your Wisconsin map activity, and you should have taken a look at the different counties. So here's a map that just shows all of them. I don't think you can see my cursor, but up in Brown County, you can see Green Bay. Remember, Pulaski is just north of that, where we talked about we make up 4 counties within our school district. So Shawano, Oconto, Brown, and a few kids come from Outagamie. So 72 counties in total. So remember, our municipalities are where government officials are located. Okay, so depending where they are. So again, the school district Pulaski is made up of Brown, Connell, and Amy. Okay, but their county seat depends on where they live, where they're located.
Good. Now if we go to the bottom of the chart, we'll take a look at cities, villages, and towns. I would say unless you school choice to Pulaski, you probably don't live in a city. 99% of you are going to live in a village or a town. Okay, but if we look at the definition for a city, which is in that bottom left-hand side, it says an area that was once a town incorporated to provide more and more services, and then it has independent control of decision-making as well. Now it says it used to be a town. Here's an example. Like I lived in the city of Green Bay. I lived on the east side of Green Bay growing up. There used to be a town of Preble, but that was annexed or incorporated, took over by Green Bay. They joined Green Bay, and then they started providing more and more services to those people. So the services that we're talking about are like getting your roads plowed, getting a garbage service, water, sewer. Okay, the more, if you're a city, you're going to provide more and more services to your citizens. We also need to think the more services that you provide, the higher that property tax bill is going to be every single year.
Yep, so those are the things that Mr. Pearman talked about just a little bit before, right? The public safety, your roads, parks, sewers, water, all of those types of things that are included when you buy property in the city. Your sewer, your water, those types of things, you're not putting those in. The city's going to provide and you're going to pay for them.
You want to go down and look at the finances of a city. So where does the city get their money for to spend? That would be that revenue. Just like a county, they're going to get most of it from property taxes. Second would be any license, permits, fines. Like a license, for example, in the village of Pulaski, you're supposed to get your dog and cat license. Like that's going to be a revenue. Any permits, building permits, fines, like parking tickets, etc., like that. And then the last one would be state shared revenue. Wisconsin's going to give cities a percentage of money every year to help them out.
For expenditures, I see similar things to what you saw with the county, and really with all of these, they're going to be very similar as we go. So again, public safety, public works, different things for the public. So your protection, your police officers, your firefighters, those types of things. And at the city and county levels, those are going to be more dominant. And then at our local levels, as we get smaller here with our villages and towns, going to be fewer. They're going to borrow or overlap from the cities and the counties. Okay. Then the other one again is just our general government. So the functioning of the government in the city, the paying for your executives, your legislators, your judicial people, and just the everyday operations of running a government.
So now if you think about the branch of government for a city, still has executive, legislative, judicial. For the executive branch, we don't call that person a governor, don't call them a president. That person's going to be called a mayor. So that's a full-time position, but they also have a treasurer, and an assessor is going to assess the value of your property to help with property taxes. Engineers also helping out with some public works, things like that. An attorney, just the city's going to have their own lawyers as well. Again, most of those positions, like the mayor, are elected.
For the legislative, again, you're going to see a common council and then the clerk. Okay, so those decisions talking about laws and ordinances, things of that nature, and then the clerk making sure that things are organized out to people and kind of running that piece of it.
And then the last one, you're going to have the judicial branch. That's going to be a municipal judge. If you have a municipal judge, that means you're going to have a police department, right? So the city of Green Bay has a police department. And they talked about public safety, Ms. Schorner does. I think they have like 110 police officers in Green Bay. That's a little bit more than like, I think it's like the 8 or 9 that Pulaski has. Again, right, their property tax is going to be a little bit higher in Green Bay because of that. But because they have a police force, they're going to have a municipal judge as well.
Okay, so if we continue on with village governments, okay, so we're moving. Think about, county is the big overarching thing, and then within those counties you have cities. Those are your larger ones. Kind of in the middle, Pulaski is a village. It's roughly 3,000 people, where the city of Green Bay is over 100,000 people. Okay, so just understand as we're scaling them down. So they're similar to cities, but fewer people. It used to be a town. Now it's been incorporated to provide more services and independent control over decision making. So your village is going to have more to offer to the people than a town would. Okay? It's going to have more money to spend. It's going to have more things to provide.
Purpose.
The purpose is very similar.
Pretty similar to what you did with the city. So I don't know if you want to draw an arrow over there, some of the same things. Just realize if we go for the amount of services, it would be city, village, and then finally a town. So some of the same ones, if you live in like Hobart, Howard, Swamico, or Pulaski, most of you are going to have public safety roads, parks, and most of you will probably have sewer and water provided to your house.
Look at revenue, it's going to be very similar to what we saw with cities. You've got the property tax, where that's the big revenue fund, where they're going to bring in the most, and depending on your city or where you live, those property taxes are a little bit more. So living in the village, it's going to be typically for those property taxes than it is for people living in, like where I live in Pittsfield, just outside of the village of Pulaski, okay, because they offer more. So again, you see license, permits, fines, interest earnings, all of those things I think we had on the last one. So again, if you want to draw some arrows, some things like you're writing them all, but understand they're very similar. And then they're going to get some state revenue as well.
The expenditure, so where they spend their money, again, I think it looks pretty darn similar to a city. So you see public safety is number one, right? Fire, police department. Public works would be number two, right? Plowing, taking care of the roads, taking care of the parks, like Memorial Park. And then general government, again, paying for those positions. And we always get the question too, like, could Pulaski become a city, become the city of Pulaski? They could if they wanted to, but then they're going to have to change their government system, which you're going to see in the next slide, to look more like a city. And I don't know why, I mean, Pulaski is generally pretty small compared to some of the bigger cities, so you wouldn't probably do that. So if you look at the executive branch, you can see,
in Pulaski,
if you want to look at the executive branch, you can see there's the president, right? It's not a mayor, not a governor. You have the village president. Then you have the assessor, going to assess properties, and treasurer for the executive branch as well.
For the legislature, you have the trustees and the clerk, which we would have brought, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Pearman, but people that we were bringing in on that government day, they were considered trustees. So Mr. Black and Chris Smith. So
Yep.
Ms. Smith would have been in to talk to you about their roles in terms of getting out to the people, talking to them, and really on behalf of the citizens of the village.
And then that last one for judicial, they're going to have a municipal judge if, like, some of them do, right? Pulaski does, but you got to think, like, Pulaski's not a huge village. I think there's about 3,200 people, 3,100 people for a population. I don't think it would be a smart business decision if Pulaski were to pay for a full-time judge. So there are villages that share judges between them. Again, if you think about where the judge, their paycheck would come from, that would be the taxpayers. So if the village would pay for a full-time judge, remember that's going to come from your parents' money. So a lot of villages, they share judges, so they only hire them for maybe a couple of days a week.
If we take a look at our towns, again, a town is any area that's not part of a city or a village. So if you don't fall in the city or village, you belong to some town. Okay. So there are quite a few towns that make up our school district that many of you may belong to, but their purpose, very similar already. You've got roads, public safety, parks, and areas. Like I always joked with the kids, I live in Pittsfield, and when we built our house, I had to pay for a park fee. And I asked my mom, who also lives in Pittsfield, I'm like, Pittsfield doesn't have a park. Why do I have a park fee? Well, they were collecting because they were creating a park. And now those of you that live in Pittsfield, and as we move on with the local government project, you'll Pittsfield, and you can see that they've started to create a park. There's a sign, and I think they're putting up a playground this spring, those types of things. So they're providing things for the people.
Some of the finances, so where they get their revenue from. Again, you're going to see the common thing between this is property tax would be number one. The only change would be state aids and other, which would be the licenses. Those got flip-flopped, I believe, from the first two. So they get money from Wisconsin, and the license, permits, fines, and interest.
And their spending is very similar. So public works, mostly roads is what they're dealing with, public safety, and then again, just how the government is run. So paying people to fill those positions, and then just the cost of running a government.
Keith Denies came in last year to talk to us, and he's the town chairperson of Pittsfield. And I'm sure I don't remember, which road did they redo in Pittsfield last year?
They redid mine, St. Augustine. Thank God, it was terrible.
I just remember we talked about
they were a number of other roads. Yeah, so they redid ours and they paved it because St. Augustine accesses the overpass that they put in. But there's a road right off of St. Augustine, Cottonwood Drive, that is also terrible. But there's a large farm on that road, and they have a lot of farm equipment that goes on it. So instead of redoing and paving that road, what they did last summer, which I think was a cost savings to the town versus was they dug it up and they got it pretty much prepared as if it would be redone, and they did everything but blacktop it. So it's a gravel road, but it's a lot better than what it was, which makes sense because the farm equipment that goes on there and that travels on there every day is pretty big, and it's just going to up that road anyway, along with all the other traffic coming that way as well. So it just makes sense. It's a little more sustainable, I think, for the town than to redo it and have to continue to redo it.
So if you look to the
legislature, you have a supervisor.
Would be the supervisors and the clerk. So you have a supervisor makes ordinances and laws, we'll say, for the town. Clerk also helps out with some of the paperwork.
And then judicial is going to be the same thing as the village. They are not found in all. They're not going to all have their own judge. Most of them are going to share just because it's a cleans and it's smart to share. Why would you pay for one when you can share? And the demand isn't going to be as much as it is in the villages and towns as it would be in this. So many of them will share.
So if you want to look at our school district, we kind of mentioned the 4 counties. So Pulaski School District, it's one of the largest area-wise in the state, covers 4 different counties, so Brown, O'Connell, Shawano. And every once in a while we get a couple of kids from Outagamie County. Cities, I don't know, unless again you were in school. I think there's actually a small area right like TC, NWTC, that goes to Pulaski, but it's only a few students. Again, mostly if you're from a city, most people school choice into the Pulaski School District.
Yeah. And then for villages, you have the Pulaski Village, the Village of Hobart, and Swamico. So we're going to fall somewhere in those for the villages. And then for towns, we have a list of them. So there's Pittsfield. If you live in Pittsfield, you're my neighbor. Hey, neighbor. There's Abrams, Chase, Little Swamp. Mr. Pierman, those people are your neighbors?
They're my neighbors, yep.
the town of Morgan, Angelica, Green Valley, Maple Grove, and aren't we missing like Krakow? Or are we just listing some?
That's unincorporated, so you're going to actually be part of like either Morgan or Chase. It's the same thing like with Sobieski. People will come back and tell us like, "Hey, I live in Sobieski." Well, Sobieski's unincorporated. Your municipality, you're either part of Chase or you're part of Little Swamico. So that's maybe a question we're going to have you look at your local municipality. If you're not sure, make sure you go home and double check with your parents. Yeah, go. That's a good question for him. All right.
Yep.
Your parents tonight. Hey, where do I live?
So if you live in Krakow or one that Mr. Pearman just mentioned, ask them if they're not sure. Ask them where you vote.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Okay, and that will usually be a good indicator of where you belong.
Here's just some maps for you to take a look at then. Here's Brown County. So if you look in the upper left-hand corner, there's only a few of them. You can see the village of Pulaski, Pittsfield, village of Swamico, village of Howard. You can see Hobart is on there as well. That's the village. That's just kind of that northwest corner of Brown County.
Here's a map of Toronto. So when you take a look at this one, you're going to be looking at the run side of it. So you're going to have the town of Green Valley, Evangelica, parts of the village of Pulaski, and then Maple Grove from our school district.
Then you have Oconto County. So if you look at the bottom left-hand, the southern part of that map, you can see the town of Chase, town of Little Swamico. Some people live in the town of Morgan, town of Abrams. Some people always say, well, that's kind of interesting, Mr. Pearman. Like the city of Oconto is extremely big. Well, there's the city of Oconto, but there's also the town of Oconto that's around the city of Oconto. Not confusing whatsoever.
In Outagamie, if you are in our district from Outagamie, you are probably in the upper right-hand corner there, coming from the Seymour area, maybe pieces of Howard, but the Seymour and probably Oneida area.
Okay, that one also gets a little confusing because there's the town of Oneida. There's also the Oneida Reservation too. So some people get a little confused by that.
This is just a map of our school district, so you can take a look, see where you fall as you are thinking back for images that you may want as two of this next week. You may want to come back to this presentation and take some screenshots of these images possibly. But you can take at the city, so the different areas. Fairview is all in purple or that blue up at the top. Sunnyside is the yellow. Lenoir is going to be that Lane. Hillcrest is that tealish color, and then Glenbrook is that pinkish red color.
Now, do you have the story? Did you tell me the story about why there's a little pie slice for Hillcrest?
I have not told them that story. Would you like to tell them that story?
Oh, you told them. I thought you told me.
Oh, I told them?
Yeah, you told me.
Oh, so the little sliver of Hillcrest is because back when the school districts were establishing themselves, that was supposed to be kind of possibly a Howard Swamico area. They didn't want them, so Pulaski took that area. And now the Hobart area is kind of thriving. You know, there's a lot of things going on. We have the 2 golf courses. I don't know if Brown County is probably technically considered in there. But it now has a more wealthy area as well. And when that took place a number of years ago, there was a fight to try to get Hobart back into like the Howard Swamico district. Willing to give it up at that point either. So it's one of those areas that looks a little out of place because it was added outside of there. So there you go. But that's, I think, all we've got for you today, you guys, on this presentation. You've got your sheet filled in, and if you need to go back You can pause us at any point, any of those screens up, please feel free to do so. When you have that sheet filled in, you can just submit that to Canvas. That's all you have to do for today. Remember, name at the top, handwritten, and submit it as a PDF, or if you take screenshots in as well. Okay, let us know if you have any questions. We've got office hours. Yep, we've got office hours from 9 to 10, 10 to 11, and 3 to 4. So if you've got any questions, stop in. But otherwise, see you later. Have a great rest of the day, Raiders.
See ya.